State, as someone in receipt of child benefit and universal credit, I can tell you that it leaves you feeling stranded. It's dehumanizing, and it leaves families not knowing which way to turn because you can't afford.
Welcome to Unfiltered Lives, The Other Side. I was an alcoholic and an addict for over 30 years. And today I am clean and sober, over 2 years clean and sober. I'm a recovery coach and a systemic wellness practitioner. And today we are going to be reacting to the cost of living crisis and how it's still biting the UK today. This story has got a very personal feel to it, and I cannot wait to react. Let's dive in and react immediately. Let's go.
Me and my amazing daughter, we live in like the most deprived blocks of this council estate. As someone in receipt of child benefit and universal credit, I can tell you that it leaves you feeling stranded. It's dehumanizing, and it leaves families not knowing which way to turn because you can't afford the daily essentials that you need to get by. I think that it's been so bad for so long that people are trying to hold out hope for a change via politics, but there is a deep sense of not being listened to, of not being able to engage in politics on any level, and there is a kind of shared sense of hopelessness within my estate of whether change will actually happen.
This is, for me, man, this is really hard to watch. This is basically where I've come from in my life, and this is why I find this sort of cost of living crisis, and this is why we do Unfiltered Lives, The Other Side, is to really go into people's stories like the Dominic Waters, and as he says, his amazing daughter. He talks about hopelessness. He talks about not being voiceless. He talks about politicians and not being seen. And what really touched the core of my being is you seeing when they put the key meter into the electricity. Now, I don't know if you're watching this, but the key meter is the most expensive electric that you can have. And it's the poor, it's the destitute, it's the people who can't really afford the electricity that needs these keys. They need to charge them by money in the post office, put 10 or 20, 30 pound in for very little back. And I remember that's what I had to do in my days of destitution. You don't get very much money in these keys. And then ultimately, this is why we have to choose between heating and eating, because the poor are paying more for electricity and gas. It's the poor and the destitute that are suffering more as we go into this winter. And what this Dominic Waters is basically saying here, he doesn't have a voice, and the politician aren't hearing him. And it's through no fault of his own that this chap is in benefits. And I strongly believe most people who are on benefits don't want to be on benefits. They really don't. They're struggling out there. They're struggling with their families. They're struggling with the cost of just about everything in the UK and Britain today. And the stigma that is on people in benefits today, just, I cannot describe how I feel inside. I feel so passionate about this. As you can probably see, my passion goes up when I'm talking about this. This is why we need to highlight people like Dominic and his amazing daughter. We want to highlight the good work that he is doing in his community. Let's go in and react again, and let's see what else we've got.
The situation for the food crisis hasn't improved. Mixed with the fuel poverty, it's still kind of like dire. you've still got people losing their jobs, which we hear every single day, and so a lot of them are still resulting to coming to the food bank. There's a lot of people out there that are saying that the food banks should no longer be existing, people should be more empowered and be made independent, and I totally understand that and we do agree with that, but at the end of the day we do have clients that do not have the money. I'm hoping that these elections are going to prove to be fruitful. I personally doubt it. I kind of like giving up hope with these politicians and them understanding the common people, the working class people. I am kind of like fed up that they won't take the time out.
We have switched from Dominic talking about the hopelessness that he feels of being on benefits, of universal credit and stuff, and then we've switched to Michelle, who's the CEO of a food bank, and she's also talking here about hopelessness and how she feels hopeless and how she feels that the politicians aren't seeing the work that these food banks are putting in. Now, I know personally, because I volunteer and I'm with some community projects, the hard work that these community projects are putting into their communities because they feel unseen and unheard. And as Michelle is rightly saying, this hopelessness is resonating throughout Britain. This hopelessness that the British people aren't being heard and aren't being seen, where voices are at breaking point with the hopelessness that we're just not being seen and heard. And that then culminates in this poverty, the poverty that we're seeing, where this isn't just people on benefits. This isn't just people on benefits who are going to food banks. Most Britons today are one salary, 1 month away from entering food banks. This is where Britain is today. You don't have to be unemployed to be going to food banks. There's nurses, teachers, professional people going into food banks, which was unheard of before COVID. And now we've got professional people entering food banks because of the cost of living crisis. Everything has gone up. So the normal people cannot be normal. And it all goes back to we're all feeling the hopelessness. The hopelessness causes stress and anxiety, which ultimately comes back to fear. And what does fear lead to? Fear leads ultimately to stress and depression. And this is where I think Britons are today. Let's react to what Michelle has got to say in this last bit. I'm really sorry. I'm very passionate when it comes to this. Excuse my passion. Let's react to what Michelle's got to say in this next part.
And them understanding the common people, the working class people. I am kind of like fed up that they won't take the time out to come and see what it is that we're doing and how people are living. If we voluntary organisations were to just say, you know, we've had enough, then I believe that the community will be in ruins, because then you won't have the grassroots people trying to support their community and to lift it up. It's a lot of weight. Mentally and emotionally, I'm drained. But because I know that this is a project that is so needed.
And listening to Michelle there, who seems a very strong and passionate lady, listening to Michelle, she really gets me going as well. And what she was basically saying there was, if these grassroots community organisations were to all pull out, then what would happen to our communities? How would we feed our destitute? How would we feed our homeless? How would we feed the people in need? How would we look after our neighbours who were needing that little bit of help? And what she was saying, that the weight that these community organisations are holding is a lot of weight. There's a lot of weight there. There's a lot of need out there. That's what Michelle is saying. And she's also going into, because you can feel her passion, that it's draining her. This is a full-time job. This is a full-time passion. This is full-time work. And she won't be doing it because she's getting paid or because of finances. She's doing it out of the goodness of her heart because she knows that there's a need. And ultimately what it is one human being helping another human being. That hopelessness to hope. That's what this is all about. We spoke about hopelessness quite a lot. Hopelessness to hope. That's what Dominic and Michelle has spoken about. And if we can go from hopelessness to hope, and with that we can carry those in need, those who need us, as Dominic and Michelle have rightly said, then I pray that this wider community of the UK can be a better place to live in. Please check on your neighbours, check on your vulnerable, check on your pensioners, and make sure that when we're going through this winter that we're all helping each other. That's the only way that we're going to get through this winter. My name's Charlie. This is Unfiltered Lives at the Other Side, and I shall see you on the other side. Take care. Bye-bye.